We have demonstrated in the past that to troubleshoot a immunity issue or susceptibility issue, often we have power or RF amplifiers such as these units, right? So for example, this one has a frequency between 10 meg to 1 gigahertz broadband frequency and has a output power roughly 5 watts or 6 watts. Then you can drive it using a signal generator, and then this end you can connect it to a close near field probes or small antennas, and then basically sniff around your circuit and try to detect if there's any weak points on your circuit. But what if you don't have these amplifiers and you still want to troubleshoot some existing susceptibility issues on a circuit? Well, with the knowledge of reciprocity, we may be able to just measure the emission part of the circuit, and at least it helps us to locate where the noise issue might come from. And this session, we're going to demonstrate that concept. Let's go to the classic EMC book, Electric-Magnetic Compatibility Engineering from Henry Oates. And if we go to Appendix D, Dipoles for Dummies, and what I want to show you is the text here about reciprocity. Okay, so reciprocity means that if a structure such as an antenna or cable radiates well, then it will also pick up energy well, and vice versa. What prevents antenna from radiating will also prevent an antenna from picking up energy. Therefore, the same techniques can be used to solve both emissions and susceptibility problems. Okay, so in today's session, we're going to do a very simple demonstration to prove this point. Okay, so some background of this EUT, right? As you can see, we covered the confidential PCB area because this is from a client's product. So what I can say is that this product has nothing wrong with EMC, right? If you put this in a EMC lab, it will pass options and immunity tests. However, this product is used in a very heavy industrial environment, okay? So you can imagine there will be lots of motor drives and I don't know how transient events, lots of relays switching on and off. So, you know, it's an uncontrolled industrial environment that this unit sits. Therefore, this unit recently has reported emergency stop issues. So I'm sure if you work for the heavy industrial applications, you know this issue is not uncommon. Okay. But as I said, if you send this unit for testing, you will find there's nothing wrong with it. Okay. But yet they still have the issues. This is something we call product performance related issues, right? So, you know, nothing wrong with it. It's also good quality if you use in a quiet environment, but it's just in that harsh environment that suffers from some nuances trip. Okay, so as we said, we're going to demonstrate how we can troubleshoot this issue from the emission point of view rather than immunity, assuming that you don't have a good immunity troubleshooting kit. Okay, so as you can see, we have our current probe, again, wide bandwidth. This one goes up to 800 megahertz, clamped on this ribbon cable. As you can already see, there are two PCBs, and ribbon cable is rather long. And you can see the emergency stop button is really just sitting here. Okay, so this already looks like a suspicious antenna structure, isn't it? Because it's a cable and it's connecting to two PCBs, depends on the impedance on this end and impedance on this end. It could act as either a half wavelength antenna or quarter wavelength antenna. If you're not familiar with this concept, check out our other videos. Okay, so now we're gonna power this board up and then have a look at the emission profile first. So okay, we power the unit up, and as we said, the current probe is only clamped on this ribbon cable, which you suspect could easily pick up noise, right? And let's have a look at the results. Okay, so by the way, we have trace 1 as a peak hold mode, so we'll hold the peak values, and the other trace D basically doing the sweep. So the first thing you will notice is that we have a lot of noise in the sort of lower frequency band, okay? Because we started at 1 megahertz, and you can see this is probably about 1 to 200 megahertz range. We got quite a noisy area. This, I know, comes from the switch mode power supply, okay? So that's fine, that's fine. The switch mode power supply is filtered on the mains front end, but on the output you still have the noise that's coupled to the ribbon cable, so that's all right. But and also we got all these higher frequency signals, but they are not really coming from this unit, because what you can do is I can switch off this unit. So now I'm switching off this unit. You can see noise immediately dropped, but you still have all these noise or signals, right? These basically represents the digital TV, the GSM or whatever, because we stop at 900 megahertz. So you got all these ambient noise. But what I wanted to point out in this case is, interestingly, you can already see that this region, sort of the center is 450 megahertz, so this is about 300 something to 500 megahertz. We also have some noise, right? It's not a huge amount of noise compared to the switch mode power supply. But then again, we know switch mode power supply is particularly noisy. But this is also a little bit concerning, because 400 and 500 megahertz range, you get some powerful two-way walkie-talkie transmitters, often in those heavy industrial area environment. So if your unit, as we measured here, produce noise in this frequency range, and you can see them, right? These are the emissions from that ribbon cable. Then based on the reciprocity theory we just learned, then possibly you can couple the ambient noise in this frequency into the system quite easily, and that could trigger the emergency stop issue in this particular case. Okay, so shall we prove it? Okay, so sometimes I do in situ tests, and that in situ test means you cannot really do radiated immunity tests on a very large system or complex system. So often we carry lots of portable transmitters such as these just to do a quick check, right? So these are from Motorola, so these are quite small power, I think 0.5 watts output. These I bought fairly recently, and this gives me about 4 watts maximum power, right? And this can work at 2 frequency bands, right? One is about 400 something megahertz, which we'll be using shortly, and the other one is sort of a 100 something megahertz range, okay? So if you buy a two-way walkie-talkie, and depends on the regions and countries you live in, you may have different frequency bands. This in the UK will give us some noise or signals at 400 megahertz and 100 something megahertz, okay? So we'll use this for today's demonstration, okay? Yeah, perfect. Some comments for using walkie-talkies to troubleshoot immunity issues, right? The first thing is, using a walkie-talkie is not really repeatable compared to proper compliance radiated immunity tests, okay? So that's the first disadvantage, not repeatable. Second is that you have no idea the power that you coupled into your system, right? So this can generate a high intensity field along the antenna, and you put this as close as possible to your wiring, and you have no idea how much current or voltage induced in your system. So unknown factor there as well, right? So the field intensity is unknown, so that's the second disadvantage. And third disadvantage is that if your system has a susceptibility issue in other frequency bands, you may not be able to use this to find the root cause. Having said that, right, bear in mind of these 3 main disadvantages of using a walkie-talkie. I've successfully used the walkie-talkie to solve at least 3 immunity issues just in the past 1 year. So I would highly recommend getting a low-cost walkie-talkie. Costs about 30-40 pounds or US dollars, and you can use that for troubleshooting immunity issues. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode.